And I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
I thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to Mr. Khaled Khiari, and we thank him for his briefing. I would also like to welcome the permanent representative of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in this meeting. The recent developments in the Korean Peninsula reflect the modern complexities as the behavior of one party lead to repercussions that affect others, and where security fears intermingle with humanitarian need, and where the path towards peace grows more and more convoluted. Madam President, the launching of an intercontinental ballistic missile on the 31st of October has caused widespread fears among the international community, and this has deepened tensions in a region that is already clearly fragile and threatened the foundations of the non-proliferation framework. However, it is important to look at the bigger picture. The trend towards increased armament in the region, the large-scale military exercises, and the deployment of strategic assets, all of these are elements that fan the flames of escalation, an escalation that serves no one. We're witnessing a trend that may lead to an uncontrollable escalation. And we note an escalation that threatens to cause an explosion in the entire region. We also see a humanitarian situation that requires urgent intervention. Madam President, history has taught us that conflicts exact a high price, and that dialogue is able to achieve the transformation that we seek. Three main principles must guide our efforts towards the future of this file. First, military escalation will not achieve the needed outcome. Second, sanctions alone cannot create a sustainable peace. And third, dialogue, no matter how difficult, is the solid path towards a solution. Unfortunately, the reality that we are facing is a grim one. Military tensions are on the rise constantly. Humanitarian needs are multiplying and becoming more urgent. Diplomatic channels are underutilized, and civilians are bearing the heaviest burden. This reality must change. And here, we must take practical measures that include the following. First, all parties must work to alleviate tension and to scale back immediately military activities in the region. Second, diplomatic contacts must be resumed and dialogue must be allowed with no preconditions. Third, we must promote and protect humanitarian channels. Fourth, we must implement confidence-building measures. Fifth, we must establish mechanisms for regional dialogue that include all stakeholders. These aren't simply aspirations, but are requirements needed to achieve peace. Madam President, we cannot ignore the humanitarian dimension. Every day that passes without peace is another day where the suffering of civilian residents increases. Every day where peoples are deprived of meeting their basic necessities is another day where humanitarian aid workers are unable to perform their vital function. This is unsustainable. Madam President, we stand firmly against any measures that violate the resolutions of the Security Council. We reject any steps that threaten international security. However, we also realize that peace cannot be achieved through sanctions alone. Our common objective remains the general nuclear disarmament in the Korean Peninsula in a complete, verifiable, and irreversible manner. However, these objectives must be achieved peacefully, and we must maintain dialogue as the primary tool towards that objective. We call all parties to avoid an escalation, to choose dialogue instead of confrontation, to choose diplomacy over saber-rattling, and to place the interests of their peoples first. And above all, the path ahead is clear, despite all the difficulties there. It is a path that requires the courage to choose dialogue amidst tension. It requires patience when progress appears to be slow. It requires a commitment when obstacles seem insurmountable. However, this path is the only path to a permanent peace. The choice is ours. Let us choose peace over constant escalation. Tension is not inevitable, and peace is not out of reach. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for their statement.